now.
Yeah, this will be helpful because the other faculty will want to see this as well. Share this with the
Absolutely.
department.
Yeah.
Okay.
So so whenever you want to build something of your own in DIY, you always have to go to modules. And I kind of refer to this, in my own terms, as kind of like the filing cabinet that sits there in your office where you keep all your stuff. And if I was going to build a PowerPoint, let's say on engine management sensors or something unique, I would probably want to go into that folder. So you have to go to the ASE content areas first and open up, pull open like a filing cabinet drawer if you want to think of it that way. And then inside that filing cabinet, you have these folders, and you can navigate through them over here or over to the right, either place. But let's say I want to build a PowerPoint or a presentation on ignition systems. So I'm going to click here. These are the things on ignition systems that already exist on the website. And then if you want to add something new to this, put something new in this folder, ignition systems, that's what this big plus button here is for. So we're going to click on the plus, and by default, lesson is shown. And that's what we're going to do is make a lesson. But just know that you do have other options here as well. You can make your own test, your own lab sheet for out in the shop, an engine simulator fault, so you can pick the fault you want and then write the repair order for yourself, pick the tools. You could upload your existing PowerPoints and share those with your students. You can also insert web links, or you can copy something you previously made and make it like another version of it instead of having to start all over. And then anything that you build, you can make it accessible for teachers only by clicking this little button down here. But we're going to make this a lesson. If I wanted it for teacher use only, I would click this here link as well. If I do want to share it with my students, I'm going to uncheck that. And we're going to call this custom ignition. Okay, whatever you want to call it. You can put a description in there if you want. You can add a level. We're going to leave that blank. Click add. And here is kind of like now we've created like an empty lesson shell. And up here in this corner, you can put a little icon that would greet your students. So if you click this button, it'll go to your images that you have uploaded. So I got just a few here that are uploaded. To upload a new image, you just click upload. It'll go to your picture documents here. I don't know if I have a good picture here to show, but
Yeah, if we get time to do it.
yeah,
Yeah.
get the idea there. You can then upload a picture there that would greet the students, and then we're going to hit edit. And here's your blank screen. So now you're the author of this. So you could put up here. Whatever you want to put there. Now, if you don't want these questions here, you maybe want to put bullet points instead. So I went down here and clicked the wrench, and we just and on under question type, we just turn that off, no question. And that way, then you can just put bullet points in here, introduction. If you want to give, like PowerPoint bullets, whatever you want to put there. And then over here to the left, you've got some choices. The little Lego block here, this would be an Electude animation. So you can click the little Lego block, and then you can scroll through all these animations. So if I clicked on some of the COP coil maybe. So here's COP coil advanced. If I click on that, it's going to open up, or I can scroll through the various animation sequences. And when I find an animation that I want, I simply hit OK, and it pops it in there. So here we have a fully interactive animation. And
Yep.
and then if I want to add my
This is
next,
exactly what he wanted to do. This is great.
yeah. And then for my next slide, I'm just going to add. There's two plus buttons. This top plus button, this would add another page. Like if you had maybe a two-part presentation, you could add a page 2. And then this lower plus, this adds another yellow block. So if I click the plus here, notice it gives me a new question. It throws this in by default. It pulls this graphic in just in case you want to ask like another question on it. It always pulls in the previous graphic. But I could override this by clicking on a different animation. And so here's question 1, here's question 2, and then here again, click the wrench. I could put no question again, and I could add some more bullet points. Or maybe you want to assess students, during your presentation, ask them some questions. I think maybe you want to do a multiple response with 6 choices and 3 correct answers. You can do that as well. In the author mode, it's always going to put your correct answers on top and the distractors or the incorrect on the bottom. When you view this in front of your class, these will be randomized. If you select the numeral response, this is a little different. Maybe we would say here, how many. I'm being a little bit over simple here, but there's 2. So if the answer is only 2, then X, meaning the answer, would be less or equal to X greater or equal to. So I'm going to put 2 on both of these lines. And now I'm going to hit save. This is the most important button. Don't forget about this little floppy disk up here in the upper left corner. If you forget to save this and you back out, everybody's done this. I've spent like 2 hours on the world's best presentation, and I get up from my and lose it all. So make sure you click save. But now when I back out and I want to review this, I can start the module. Oh, yeah. Don't save it. If you ever do what I just did, don't save the screen. Oh, that's okay. I didn't publish it. That's why it's not there. Publish it. Start module. There we go. And now you'll see you get a blank there instead. So if I put 1, that's going to be incorrect. If I put 2, that's going to be shown as correct. Anything other than 2 will be incorrect. Now, if I want that to be a range, I can say here, change this number to 1 and this one to 4. Hit save, back out, republish, start. Now if I put 3, it's going to be correct. If I put 4.
Now, Darcy.
Yep.
Darcy, one question. If they wanted to integrate, like if Gary wanted to put some of the slides in here as well, so it'd be a mixture of the Electude animations and
yes, yeah, that would be the next thing here. Okay, so let me show you that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up PowerPoint here at the same time so you can see how I kind of do that. Okay. So here's my PowerPoint. Let's say I want to take a picture. We'll just use this silly one here. Here's a picture. So I'm going to just use my screenshot technology, Shift Command 4 on a Mac, and I'm just going to screenshot this slide like that. Minimize my PowerPoint, and then over here in your back to your Electude lesson, underneath the animation button, I'm going to paste over this now with or here, I'll add another page. We'll put another page here. So there's question 3. Now I go to the picture file. So you can upload all your pictures into Electude, and you can create various folders for all your photos. So if I want to put a picture of the Three Stooges there riding a scooter, I can throw that in there. If I want to upload a new image that's not there, I can pick one of these folders, or I can go up here to Images, right click, and add a new folder. And I could call these whatever you want to call it. So there's a new folder, and then I'm going to upload. Here's my screenshot I just took, and there it is. Double click on it, and it throws it in there.
So you got to have a mix of art.
What's that?
Your own content. You can also build on your test. Test, right?
Yeah, and I probably should have made that image bigger. As you can see, it's a little grainy looking, so I probably need to mess the resolution on that. But it is possible to do things like that. Or if you want to put a different picture in there, just go back over here to Images. The nice thing about this is you can store all your images basically on your Electude site and have them offline. So oftentimes, I'll have images and things loaded, on my site, and
so you can do this offline.
and you, right, you can do it offline. Or not off. You can do it on. You don't have to have your pictures. You still have to be online, but yeah, that's right. The other thing you
can
Darcy? Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Well, the last thing you can do is add a video. I'll just demonstrate that really quick. So if I add another plus, and I'm going to go to YouTube, or you can go to any video sharing website.
There we go. Always like I think we need to have a talk.
I've had my eye on this car.
So this here is obviously it has an ad in front of it. What's kind of nice about this is we copy this.
Engines. Now, the man got a lot of complaints from my own customers saying they hate that gasoline and his ethanol because it makes their cars run poorly. It can actually corrode.
So you can do that, and then you could ask your students questions on that and stuff as well.
Or if they just wanted to run it as a video, they can get rid of the question.
Right, yeah, if you just wanted to run a video or whatever. So you can do a lot of things, in this DIY tool.
Hey, Darcy, while we're in, I know Joe, who's the chair of the program, he's joined us. And one of the things that he's kind of writing down stuff on the board that he wanted to ask about. Can you go into like one of the current customers, since you're online here now, go to a current customer and show the analytics for the grades.
Sure.
And then maybe walk through the filters as well.
Sure.
I think the ultimate question that's in my mind right now is, can this system, learning management system, completely replace Black? It can. It does everything. Can you message through it? Yes, email. Yeah, you can email. You can send an email, mass email to all your faculty or to all students in the program.
What's the name of the school again, Daryl?
Erie Community College.
Okay.
So they don't have any students in it now. I was wondering if you could pull up one of your current
okay.
customers
I got you.
so that they could see with the dashboard, the analytics, and what kind of reports they'll be able to pull.
Sure.
So maybe each field, yeah, they can build their college. The grade book. Oh, yeah, it's a roster. Yeah. Absolutely. This is our testing. Yeah.
Okay. So this is another customer site. They got folders set up by teachers. So we'll go in here to my friend Kevin's folder. Fall 2019. So here's the student group. Here's the email button. I think that Daryl, you were talking about the email button. So if I wanted to email every student in this class, I could simply click this little button here. And then when it comes time to drill down to look at results, you want to resist the temptation to click on a student name. You always want to drill into the content. And so you can see here the teacher's got quite a bit content assigned. But under, let's see here, if we look at mass breaks, for example, on average, the students have spent 1 day, 1 hour, 23 minutes, and 1 second in Electude on this content. So this would be your overall average for the entire class. If I hover my mouse over this bar, this shows me on average for the entire class. So the class is 62% through the content, and 71% of the time they're clicking on the right answer the first click. And the more they practice, the more green you're gonna see. So just like a video game, every time a student goes in and performs practice in a lesson that they've already started, they can improve their score over time. Now, to use like a jetliner analogy, imagine right now we're kind of like at 30,000 feet. We're all the way zoomed out, and there's not a whole lot of information about breaks here other than the average score for the entire class, average time spent. But if I take a click on this line, it now we're like at 20,000 feet. We're zooming in a little bit. Here again, this top portion, this is average results for the entire class and average times. So nobody in this class has touched the tasks yet for general breaks because there's no time and there's the bar is empty. However, on hydraulic and power assist, the class has spent 4 hours, 42 minutes, and 6 seconds on average, and the average time of completeness. If I take a click on this line, it zooms down a little further. So now we're at the lesson quiz level. And here again, this top portion, these are the average results, but we're like at 10,000 feet now. We're looking down and I'm seeing how my whole class is doing here. And I can see on this lesson here, Master Cylinder Basics, it's been completed by 18 students. On average, they spent about 30 minutes on it, but their score isn't really too hot. They're 82%, only 53% correct. There's another one here that looks like it's a little bit problematic for them. But if I want to take a look at this even further, I can take one more click. And now here are the individual results, how the class is doing. So These names are hidden from my view. Obviously, you'd see the names of your own students, but and you can see how your individual results are. Now, there's some things here we can do. Uh, we can uh, we can do a response analysis where it'll crunch all this data and report to me what question all students are having the most problems with here. So this little icon down here, and this is one of the advantages of the Electude LMS, is you get all these really cool reporting features such as this here. So when I click this button, there's satellites clicking on, there's things happening in outer space right now, and things are really happening now. There's little Dutch elves hustling and bustling over there in the Netherlands working on this.
How far are you on that tank?
Yeah, better be careful what I say. This is being recorded. Usually doesn't take this long, but there is quite a few students.
While we're waiting for the report, Joe's also written on the board, already mapped to ASE math standards, and I answered that question for him. Yes, we have. We've mapped it. Like if you go up there, on the left side, click on that to show that we've done. We've aligned. Yeah. It's not the greatest real estate on a phone. Yeah. It has to do something quick. Right. We have to think when you put it on their back. The way they exchange screens move around, it's fast my brain. Yeah. This becomes really.
I don't know if my webcast is slowing this down. It shouldn't take that long. Let me try refreshing my browser here.
Yeah, we get the power of it. Yeah. You can do the stuff you put on. No, not at all. And you got everything right. Everything is right here. So it's like what Blackboard is for now. Right, because web will get filled in, right? It's just set up to build that. It's already the template's already made. You just make it, yeah, you use it what you want to use. And you don't have to search it for anything. It's all on the same site. The response analysis tool is nice too because what it allows you to run that report data for class really get a good snapshot of where students are struggling and what they want to find, and then just tailor your lecture around that.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe that feature might not be available in direct teacher access. I'm going to go to this is back to my demo site, and I got a group of sample students here. So let me try this again. So here, the lesson ammeter. I've got some student results here from 3 students.
Yeah, right. It's more just time, which I got time. I'll be all. Yeah. I just want to feel very familiar with the part. There's nothing worse than you talented than something. You're like, didn't turn it on right, or it's not like you're losing. So I want to keep it. Sure. I love all the stuff. Yeah, and I would come back before you guys launch. Okay.
There we go.
Here's our response.
By the time I get mine downloaded, then this other site come up. So here's we'll go back to this site. So Master Cylinder Basics. By the way, this top portion here, this is how the whole class is doing by learning objective. This is sometimes confusing to teachers. They see these different bars and the different links. This is just kind of a visual representation of how many questions deal with that particular objective. So because this bar is longer than the others, most of this lesson deals with this objective here, understanding, what the master cylinder is. But so here's the response analysis, and right away the one that jumps out at me is page 1, question 2. There was 174 responses, but only 26 right. So there was 148 incorrect. Also, a good number of incorrect responses on these two. So if I wanted to jump in and look at page 1, question 2, and probably page 1, question 4 or 5. So let's say I assign this as homework. Now the class is about ready to start. I run this report. I see where they struggled. And now I have a target as far as what my review needs to be with my class. So I can start this up in front of the students, and I can go to page 1, 2. Oh, and was no wonder that they had trouble on this one. They're learning the parts and pieces. But it's a good thing to review then in front of your class. Maybe have a student come up in front of the room if you have an interactive whiteboard or whatever, and review these parts and pieces with your class. So you can go through all these parts and pieces with your students. And then we can jump here to page 4, move the sliding bar to position where the vent ports are closed. Oh, okay. So then here you could talk about the vent ports and why it's important to have the cap on when you're pushing the brake pedal and all that. So yeah, you could go through all that. But it's a great way, without this response analysis, you don't really know which questions your students are struggling with the most. And so it's a great feature. The other thing that Daryl had mentioned is showing you the filter, because when it comes time to grade, we don't necessarily recommend that you grade the lessons, because the lessons are for practice and learning. They're formative, but then we have these little summative quizzes to give you, the instructor, a gradable item. So in Electude's courses, you got lessons followed by a quiz, and you kind of see that kind of follows through all the way down. But if I were to download this grade report by clicking on this button here, it would be a culmination of everything up above. So if I want to filter only the quizzes out before I download this report, I simply go over here to settings, and I go over here to module filter. Oh, and by the way, before I do that, I'm going to go over here to import export. This is something I recommend that all teachers change under import export. Export empty results, because if a student has not started a lesson, by default, it's not going to show up on the grade report. But in my opinion, I think most teachers want assignments that haven't been started to show up on that report. So I always change this to yes. And by the way, these are individual settings. This is not for the entire site. So each teacher has to make this setting for themselves under their own settings, okay? So then make sure you hit OK to save that. So now we're going to export empty results. That's important. And now we're going to go over here to module filter. By default, all modules are shown. I'm going to click this and define by type. And the only thing I want to see on my report is tests and quizzes. So I'm going to deselect this, all these other items. I'm going to leave the filter no, or not active. But when I do that, look what happens here. I got a new icon. This is my filter switch. So if I go back here to students, here's everything. You can see we got lessons and quizzes. But if I go up here to my filter and click on that and turn it on, now you can see the icon's dark black. Look what it did. It hit all the lesson scores. So now I'm only showing quizzes. And
yeah, so the importance of doing this starting point is the lesson. You just want the students to do the modules, because we've seen students that'll get like a 40% on the lesson, but then they get a 80% quiz. They ultimately learn.
Right. Because the lessons are discovery based, it's not really fair to give them a grade just because they didn't know where that part was. They have to figure things out through a process sometimes of trial and error, just like finding all those master cylinder parts, an instructor is going to know what those parts are, but a student that's just learning, they're going to make dozens of mistakes while they're learning. So that's why we suggest not grading the lessons. That's a safe place to make mistakes and learn, and then you have these quizzes. Now, if you had a
Yeah,
student that failed a quiz, then they're probably going to ask you to reset it, and that's when I think Electude allows you to be somewhat of a coach, and you can help that student. You say, hey, okay, you failed this quiz. Let's go look at your lesson score, and if they failed a quiz with a low lesson score, then work with that student. Say, hey, I tell you what, you practice in that lesson. You bring that score up from a 40 to a 65, and then I'll reset your quiz. So, and then usually that does the trick. And with repeated practice, students learn what's in the lesson, and they'll do better on the quizzes. But
Darcy, as a best practice, have you seen schools? Because I've talked to a couple schools that are doing this, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it. They use the lessons because they want to give the student a grade on the lessons. But rather than do a numbered grade, they just make it a pass or fail.
Yeah, that's a great way to do. You can get a participation score on the lessons. So here again, you could use the filter for that. If you wanted to give a participation score on the lessons, just reconfigure your filter. Go over here back to module filter, and now we're going to turn off quizzes and tests, and we just want lessons to show. So I change my filter a little bit, go back here to my my group, and now we just see the lessons. So now I can download a report again, and if everybody's got a full and complete progress bar, I can give them full credit. Whereas if a student that's not finished, I'm not going to give them a full participation score. Obviously, those who haven't started. So yeah, that filter is a great tool. I will warn you, it's once you get familiar with using this button, it does work everywhere. So if I go here to modules and click on all new, the only thing I'm seeing here is lessons. There's no quizzes because I have the filter on. So if I turn the filter off, you can see, and then they'll pop back up. So it does work all across the board when you have that filter turned on. So
I found out the hard.
yeah, especially if a teacher builds lots of self-made courses and things like that, it can really cause a panic when things all of a sudden start disappearing, because you have the filter on. So just be careful with that. Is there any questions about anything that we've gone over? I'm happy to review some other things if you have questions.
One last thing, Darcy, if you wouldn't mind, if you could just go into their site, the Erie site.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So what I did when I created sample courses for you guys, the way I built the Darcy, you go over to courses at the top, and then you'll see over here on the folder to the left, I grabbed 27 and math. Just click on that. Go to math at the bottom. So there's all the areas of data, and they align. So if you clicked on electrical, yeah, got all these different areas. You can even customize. Darcy, can you walk through the customization portion?
You mean how
So maybe,
how they
Ohm's law, you feel like there's too many modules, or too much for the student to get through?
Oh, sure.
Middle of that.
Yeah, so when it comes to assigning content, you have several choices. If I go over here and I pick a student group, here you can see mass electrical systems. The whole thing is assigned. Here, I'll show you. I'm gonna take it away really quick here. It's not gonna affect anything. So right now, this group of students, they don't have any content. But when I go back here a step, I could choose like Daryl had done before. I could grab the entire electrical electronic systems and assign that to the group and all in one chunk. And then I could lock certain subcourses, or I could enter that course and I can assign each of these smaller areas individually. So maybe I don't want to assign the pre and post test. Maybe I just want to give them electrical theory and Ohm's law to start with, or these three chunks. You can assign those separately by just dragging these units up like that. So this does nice way to control the content, and then as they get finished with this, then you can just go back into the course, and then maybe the next thing you do is maybe you do starting systems before you do battery. You can drag that up in whatever order you want. The other thing that you can do is you can copy a course and then modify it to suit your need. So if I this little button here,
Darcy, we got to play real quick.
yeah.
I think I just, when you drag these modules in, we can sequence them, right? Yes. Yeah.
When you can move these around. These aren't modules. These would be like chapters in a book. But on the inside, like if I go into electrical theory, these are kind of locked in stone right now. I can't reorganize this unless I make a copy of it. So you can assign it however you want, but as far as taking any of these in or out or moving these around, you first have to make a copy of that course. And that's easy to do. I mean, so let's say that I wanted to change. Well, we'll just pick on electrical theory. Let's say that I wanted to modify this listing and make it my own. So you just simply click the copy course button. Are you sure you want to make a copy of this course? Hit yes. And notice what it did. It shifted gears. We're under self-made. We're no longer under massed electrical. We're in self-made, and here's my copy of massed electrical theory. And the nice thing about making a copy, now this becomes like a soft piece of clay, and I can move things around. Maybe I want to put current clamp up here at the top. Maybe I want to move induction up above that. Maybe I don't want to talk. Maybe I don't want Lorentz force at all. I can delete it. So you can do whatever you want with your own course, and you can even add PowerPoint slides to this and things like that. Worksheets of your own. You can do anything you want with this course. To change this title, because you probably don't want copy of mass electrical, you can click the little pencil and you could go Erie mass electrical theory. Whatever you want to do, it's your course. And then if students were working, let's say that students were, we'll go back here to my students group here. Let's say that they were working in the Electude electrical theory course. Well, what you can do there is, look up here, I got courses, Erie mass electrical theory. You can also do a little hopscotch jump like this. Anytime you see something you want to assign up here, you can always drag it like that. And now there's Erie mass electrical theory. I can delete this course take the Electude version away and then move the Erie one up there and replace it. So you can do whatever you want with our program. Um, I know I probably make this look really easy because I've been working with the site for a lot of years, but you know um, it's a lot of clicking and dragging and copying and moving things around. But after you get the hang of it, it's really quite easy. There is a lot of tools, but I really like it. I think for most teachers, if you have an idea for something, more than likely we have a tool to help accomplish that. It's just a matter of getting learning how to use it.
So, Darcy, do you think that Electude is something that replaces Blackboard? Do you think it's something that at school, Erie Community College has embraced Blackboard, where it's on all the students' MyECC pages and stuff? I'm struggling with the idea of, do we bring Electude into Blackboard, or do we just say, forget Blackboard, use Electude? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, no, I mean, now it's been a few years since I've been in the classroom. My last year of teaching was full-time teaching was in 2012. But every one of my automotive classes we didn't have Blackboard, but it was Erie College, very similar, and we had a course shell for every class, and I would put assignments in there and things like that, due dates for certain things, announcements, and I did not use SCORM. I didn't think SCORM offered me the choices that I wanted. I didn't want to lose all the nice reporting features that are found in Electude. Also, with SCORM, you can't use vouchers, which is really, if you want your students to go to the bookstore and purchase their own access, then it's gonna be difficult to have student pay with SCORM. So what I did within e-college, or you could say Blackboard, is provide a link into Electude, just put a simple link to the website. So you could put this link within Blackboard. You could explain to students, log in with your Erie student ID, and your initial password is 1234567 and you can list your weekly assignments on there. But I kind of used my e-college or the Blackboard as a link into this, and I just basically maintained an Electude site separate from the Blackboard, and that worked really well for me.
The other thing you're going to lose, and Darcy, correct me if I'm wrong, if you do the SCORM integration into Blackboard, you're going to lose. You're not going to be able to export the digital task sheets. Okay. Here.
That's
They
true.
don't export
The digital tasks, and the reason for that is the tasks are tied to our ASC tracking system, and the tasks are also, because we can't control. We don't know what kind of vehicle the student is working on. So here, I'll just open up a random one here. Here's charging system diagnosis repair. So this task sheet here, it's linked to these 5 ASC performance indicators, and right away you'll see that there's things here for students to fill in. And when you have open-ended type answers like this, that's not something that Blackboard, or that's capable of being. There's no grading involved. It all has to be self-graded. There's no right or wrong answer, and plus you have all this text where you can write. So it's just not exportable in SCORM. But
I probably missed this because I came in late, but can you put external grades, like I like to have lab grades, integrated into the same course? So if they're all in, like, they are AU 160 electrical, they would also have a lab grade that would account for like at least 60% of their grade. Can you
integrate that lab grade into a grading table or whatever you have in for grades? Can I input columns that would
Right. No, I hear you.
weight it?
Yeah, like in Blackboard, you could probably just enter in a something. You could just type in an item, assign some points to it, and that there is a little difficult. We don't really have a full gradebook feature. Obviously, you could put an item in there, but as far as weighting things of your own, it's impossible to do. You could upload like a document that would say lab grades week of October 28th or something like that, but you couldn't assign any you couldn't assign a specific number of points or weight that, like for, let's say, 60% of the student's grade. So Electude does, that's one area that we don't have, is a gradebook feature where you can just enter in an item and then assign points. So that would be something you'd probably want to do inside your Blackboard. And
Okay, sounds good.
yeah.
Any other questions you guys have? Yeah. Wow. So there's a lot of stuff that we wanted to do.
Done.
And it is one of those things to play. God.
Yeah.
Let me see what it's just well, it's similar, except that everything's here. So you're already built. You just you want. Whereas we're going back and forth between.
I think I would have because of link to it, and I would also keep my grade center in black, and I would keep supplemental materials. Hey, there's a bunch of videos, that kind of stuff. Class lectures, I would have in black. But then I would have this for training process at home. And then I would have lecture material I would use, but I would also have that in black one, subcategorized by month, like I do now. And then I would have my grade center with, I don't know how far I go with process. It might be course, your course current running total for 8160, where your supplemental election stuff is 85.
So how are they getting that? You're going in and out? That's what I'm saying. So
I would just input whatever your final course grade is for 8160 and put it into a column.
yeah, but
Real time, they would know with it
they
running
don't
total.
know, but it's not on Blackboard. So we.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. And I would tell them. And I'd probably do it, I don't know, maybe even a week. Like for the co-op would make sense.
Yeah,
Week.
co-op.
1 week. Every week.
Right.
You're getting a module.
Right.
That's going in there. And it's being averaged against weighted wise against your lab. We can figure out all the weighting on Blackboard. That's no problem.
Yeah.
This would be easy enough, I think, if we just take it running total.
Blackboard is different.
Right. Right. So, I mean, I like the book. The book has been doing well for us, for me, and a lot of the supplemental stuff the book is good. But this, I like this way better. Way better. And it gives them, it's better. It's more current. It's more current. It gives them acclimated to doing viewer trade or manufacturing.
Yeah, and my experience is the students are going to like it better than the book.
Yeah.
The students don't like reading that. All that text.
Simulator. I didn't look for that. Yeah. I gotta get ready for that.
Yeah. Darcy, thanks so much. We really appreciate your help with this.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. I didn't know if you want to. Do you want to go over any of the stuff on the grade report here?
Yeah.
So you just downloaded I think I watched you download first year student
Yeah.
report.
Yep. Yeah. So I went to this area for mass electrical measurement theory. Here's my class of students. I click this button right here. Now this is everything. This is a culmination of quizzes and lessons. But so here's your points possible. So if I wanted to do like let's say I wanted to grade this whole thing, I would probably sum up this whole column here. So there's 635 points. and then here is their final score. Oh, wait, I wouldn't do it this way. I'm sorry. This is for every student.
No, I see.
Yeah, but you.
No, I see the point.
Yeah. So, but you could sum up the column. I would have probably rather I should have done it per student, but anyway.
No, we get it.
Yeah. So you got your points possible. The relative score. This would be like if they didn't finish it, what their score would be if they didn't finish, and then once they complete a lesson. So there's 26 points possible. This student has completed 18 of 26, so their relative score is 69%, but they've got 12 out of 18 correct so far. I'm sorry, I got that backwards. They got 12 out of 18 so far. That's 69%. But if they stopped, they didn't finish the lesson, their relative score would be 46 because there's 26 points possible. And shows how many sessions they've done, time spent, first date access, last date access. So there's quite a bit of data that you can glean off these reports. And then you can run it per student as well. And that's probably how I should have done it is, click on the student name and then run a grade report for an individual.
Even that right down. Yeah, we wouldn't even run the report down at the bottom. That grade summary that popped up, that was just the kids that you pulled up, right?
Yeah. This here is the tasks here as well for this one student.
First, you can see the tasks. Yeah, that's more because that's real. That's a real quick glance. You could throw that in Blackboard and move on.
But if you just finish and not finish, 75 and 75.
Yeah,
they do 75.
Yeah. You can also just hover your mouse over like quiz scores and things like that as well, and you'll get a pop up.
Yeah, I like the answer. We're talking to
Vinny's putting off finishing his basement now, Darcy, so he can build his course now.
All right. Well, great. All right. Well, I'm going to go